Basic medicine. This is the one nobody likes thinking about because it's messy, scary, and doesn't come with a cool aesthetic. When hospitals stop working, when pharmacies are looted or empty, and when the ambulance is not coming because the ambulance driver is also trying to keep his family alive, medical skill becomes the difference between a bad day and a funeral. I'm not talking about becoming a surgeon overnight. I'm talking about understanding the human body well enough to not panic when something goes wrong. Knowing how to clean and close a wound properly so it doesn't turn into an infection that kills you a week later. Knowing how to recognize dehydration before someone collapses. Knowing how to manage fevers, infections, and pain with limited resources. And yes, injections. Intramuscular injections, subcutaneous injections, even intravenous access if you're trained properly. Because some medications don't work unless they get into the body the right way. Antibiotics aren't magic candy, painkillers don't fix everything, and using them wrong can be worse than not using them at all. In a collapsed system, the person who knows basic anatomy, understands dosage, and can keep people alive with minimal tools instantly becomes valuable. And value is survival. Lockpicking. This one sounds shady until you realize how quickly it becomes necessary. Not because you're trying to become a cartoon villain, but because keys get lost, doors get stuck, and buildings become abandoned while still full of useful things. When no one is coming to unlock anything for you, knowing how to bypass a simple lock without destroying the door can mean access to shelter, warmth, tools, or food. And here's the thing, people don't like admitting. Locks are designed to keep honest people honest. Most basic locks are shockingly simple. This isn't about breaking into homes while people are inside. It's about accessing spaces that would otherwise be sealed off forever. If society collapses, legality becomes a luxury concept. Utility becomes reality. A locked door is not a moral object. It's a physical obstacle. And skills that let you move through obstacles quietly and efficiently matter more than pretending the world still runs on rules written for a functioning civilization. Driving manual vehicles. Eventually, you're gonna need to move. And when that happens, knowing how to drive a manual transmission becomes weirdly important. Automatic cars rely heavily on electronics. Manual vehicles are simpler, more durable, and far more common outside comfortable modern cities. In a crisis, the vehicle you find won't care about your preference. It will care whether you know how to use it. Being able to drive manual means you can move supplies, evacuate people, or simply get yourself out of a bad area when staying put becomes dangerous. And this isn't just about cars. It's about understanding basic mechanics, knowing how to keep an engine running, how to recognize when something sounds wrong, and how to improvise small repairs. Because when replacement parts don't exist anymore, maintenance becomes survival. Safe firearm handling. Not because it's glamorous, not because it's exciting, but because pretending weapons won't exist in the collapse is delusional. Guns don't create chaos. Chaos reveals who already had them. Safe firearm handling is not about becoming an action hero. It's about not shooting yourself, your friends, or someone you didn't intend to harm. It's about understanding when not to use a weapon just as much as when to use one. It's about storage, maintenance, discipline, and restraint. In a world without law enforcement, the most dangerous people are not the armed ones. They're the untrained ones, with adrenaline and no rules. Knowing how firearms actually work, how to clear a malfunction, how to store ammunition safely, and how to keep a weapon clean and functional over time is a skill that prevents accidents more than it causes violence. Hunting and food procurement. And no, this is not chasing deer through the forest like a movie character. Real hunting is quiet, patient, boring, and extremely humbling. It's understanding animal behavior, knowing where animals actually move, what they eat, and when they're active. It's also about trapping, fishing, and processing food safely. Because catching food is only half the battle. Cleaning it wrong can make you very sick. Storing it wrong can make you even sicker. And in a collapse, food poisoning is not a minor inconvenience. It's a potential death sentence. Hunting also teaches something deeper: respect for resources. When food is no longer guaranteed, you stop wasting. You stop over-consuming. You start thinking in days and weeks instead of cravings and convenience. Starting fire without matches. Fire is warmth, cooking, water purification, protection, and psychological comfort. Fire is control in a chaotic environment. And no, your fancy lighter won't last forever. Matches run out. Batteries die. Knowing how to make fire through friction, sparks, or improvised methods is not a party trick. It's a survival foundation. If you want a deep dive into exactly how to do this step by step, I already made a full episode breaking it down in detail, because this is one of those skills people massively underestimate until they're cold, wet, and miserable. Fire also teaches patience and planning. You don't just light it and walk away. You feed it, protect it, and respect it. Because uncontrolled fire destroys everything. And controlled fire keeps you alive, staying physically capable. You don't need to be a bodybuilder. You don't need six-pack abs. But you do need a body that works under stress. A body that can walk long distances. A body that can carry weight. A body that can function without perfect sleep, perfect nutrition, and perfect comfort. When the world collapses, your fitness tracker becomes irrelevant. Your joints, your lungs, and your endurance become very relevant. Staying in shape is not about aesthetics anymore. It's about resilience. It's about not getting injured doing basic tasks. It's about recovering faster when things go wrong. And here's the harsh truth. The collapse doesn't care how smart you are if your body can't keep up with your decisions. Assisting childbirth when hospitals no longer exist. This is the one almost nobody wants to talk about, because it forces you to confront the fact that life doesn't stop just because civilization does. People will still be born, women will still get pregnant, and hospitals may not exist when that happens. Knowing how to support childbirth safely, recognize complications, and keep both mother and baby alive is one of the most powerful skills a human can have in a collapsed world. This isn't about replacing doctors. It's about understanding the basics well enough to not panic and make things worse. It's about cleanliness, calm, patience, and knowing when something is outside your ability and needs immediate intervention. I already did a full episode on how childbirth looks when systems fail, because this topic makes people uncomfortable, and that's exactly why it matters. In every historical collapse, midwives were essential, not optional, essential. When you put all of these skills together, a pattern emerges. None of them are flashy. None of them are fun to learn on social media. None of them make you look cool in a thumbnail. But they all share one thing. They turn you from a dependent consumer into a capable human being. And that transition is uncomfortable because it forces you to admit how much modern life has outsourced your survival to systems you don't control. The collapse doesn't reward confidence. It rewards competence. It doesn't care how prepared you think you are. It cares what you can actually do when things break. And here's the final uncomfortable truth. You don't need all of these skills to survive, but lacking the most basic ones drastically lowers your odds. The people who adapt aren't the strongest or the smartest. They're the ones who can learn, stay calm, and do what needs to be done even when it's unpleasant. So if the world ever does collapse, remember this. Your gear might buy you time. Your skills buy you a future. And time without skill just delays the inevitable.